Hey, what's up? My name is Kody. I'm a full-time reseller on eBay and Amazon. I like to sell electronics, clothes, shoes, jackets, anything that I can source locally and then clear a profit on eBay. But overall, my favorite thing to sell would be video games and video game systems. Video gaming typically has a high profit margin. They sell really quickly online. There's usually a really high demand for them. And I can't complain when I tell people what I do for a living.
I test video games.
This is something I've always wanted to do, and I genuinely find a lot of satisfaction with selling video games online. I also have my own personal collection of video games that I'm able to add to and at the same time support myself financially. But with that being said, let's get to our first item. This PlayStation virtual reality set sold for $249 plus the buyer paid for shipping. I sourced this locally from Facebook Marketplace for $50. Luckily, I messaged the buyer within 4 minutes of her posting it. This VR set sold within 24 hours of me posting it. It ended up costing around $15 to ship, but fees were around 35 bucks. I paid up for this item. This is an Xbox One, the original model, the 1540 model. It's brand new and sealed, and I ended up picking it up from Facebook Marketplace for $250. I got lucky with this one because she had it listed for around 30 minutes and I was still able to secure the deal. Though you wouldn't expect something like this to sell for that high, gaming systems that are discontinued but still sealed or new old stock increase in value pretty quickly once they're pulled from the shelves. Again, this item took less than 24 hours to sell after listing it. This PS Vita sold for $140 free shipping. It only ended up costing around $10 to ship the item out. Fees were around 20 bucks. This item took around 3 days to sell after I listed it. I picked this up as part of a trade deal where I traded out a Nintendo Switch for a large collection of video games. Handheld and portable consoles always sell quick for me, something you definitely want to be on the lookout for when you're outsourcing. Speaking of handhelds, this Gameboy Advance SP sold for $80 plus the cost of shipping. It sold within a few hours of me posting it because it was in really good condition. Now this wasn't the AGS 101 model, this was the AGS 001 models, so there's a little bit less demand for this one, but nevertheless it still sold super quickly. I picked up this Gameboy Advance SP from a deal I did locally. Someone responded to an ad I had on Facebook Marketplace asking for video games and video game systems. After a little bit of negotiating, he ended up giving me this Game Boy Advance SP along with a number of other really good games and systems for around $150. I love finding Nintendo 3DSs. This specific 3DS was the Galaxy variant. This is by far my favorite 3DS system to find, not only because of how sick it looks, but because it sells so quickly. This one specifically was in mint condition. It had the stylus, the charger, no scratches, no marks, worked perfectly. I actually ended up sourcing this 3DS through a garage sale. At this garage sale, I noticed they had some Wii games available, so I went up and asked if they were selling anything else video game related. They said yes, went back inside, and came out with this Galaxy 3DS. I paid $150 for this system, plus the Wii games that were also there. After testing it out and resetting it, it sold within 2 days of me listing it. This 1TB PS4 Slim sold for $255. I sell PS4s all the time. They're always showing up on Facebook Marketplace for around $100 to $150. Although you have to pay up a little bit, I have very few returns on these items and they sell super quickly. This specific PS4 sold within 24 hours of listing. I picked it up for $80 on Facebook Marketplace within 5 minutes of the person listing it. I was able to get it for $80 because the buyer didn't have any cords or any controllers for it. There was a slight risk that it didn't work, but even in broken condition, 1TB PS4 Slims can sell for up to $150. So the risk wasn't that difficult to overcome because I knew no matter what there would be profit to be made. I also had a bunch of non-valuable games on the side that I was able to pull into the bundle and command a higher value for it. The next thing that sold for me was the Sega Dreamcast game, Sword of the Berserk. It sold for $97, but it took around 2 weeks for it to sell. I sourced this from a local trade I did on Facebook Marketplace, trading out an Xbox Series S for collections of video games. In this trade, I ended up getting around 20 Sega Dreamcast games, around 10 PlayStation games, and a number of other games from different systems, as well as the systems that came with them. I really don't have much into this game, maybe around $10. But Sega Dreamcast games always do well for me. They sell super fast. Anything in disc format from retro gaming consoles is a pleasure to sell. This Sega Game Gear was beat up. It sold for $49 and I included 4 games with it. The screen was super scratched up, it didn't have any back battery covers, but it did work well and the sound worked perfectly fine. Again, as part of a Facebook trade that I had set up, the buyer didn't really have what I was looking for, so I made him an offer on what he had, and I ended up putting in about $10 for this Sega Game Gear with the games. It took around 2 weeks to sell, which I understand because of how beat up it was. This lot of 6 Sega games sold for $49 and took around 2 weeks to sell. These 6 Sega games came with the Sega Game Gear from the last listing. I have around $2 in each game, and they took around 2 weeks to sell. And they're all complete with the manual and work. Finally, this Batman Arkham Knight's PS4 sold for $150. Now, this was definitely a flop for me as I paid $110 for the system from Facebook Marketplace locally. I scooped it up within 10 minutes of it being posted. I felt really good about this purchase because the seller listed in the description that there was no issues at all. I even asked him what was wrong with it. He said there was no problems, no loud noises, no HDMI issues, no disk drive issues. It was perfectly running well. Once I got back home, I inspected the item and the first thing I noticed was the warranty stickers were peeled off the back. This is an indication that the PS4 has been opened and cleaned, or at least refurbished in some sort of way. Once I plugged it in, it was making a terribly loud noise. I popped a disc in, and after about 30 minutes of what sounded like a jet engine going off, I was met with a warning on the screen of overheating. The PS4 shut off immediately and I had to open it up myself to see what the issue was. It was filled with dust and a bunch of lint. I cleaned it up, put it back together, and once I plugged it in again, it actually ran without overheating. I ended up listing it as is for parts not working because I didn't want to risk the possibility of a return. Alright, so those are 10 items I'd definitely be on the lookout for if you're outsourcing. And if this video illustrates anything, it's that video games and systems sell really fast, and Facebook Marketplace can be an amazing place to source goods. I really hope you guys picked up some valuable information from this video, and I'm excited to provide you guys with some more bolos, tips, tricks in the future, and whatever it takes to provide you guys with some success in the future. Thanks for watching.